Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Godzilla x Kong, the new Empire figure, as there is a new wave starting to hit stores, and they have begun hitting Walmarts, and I have what in my opinion is the most exciting of all. This is Tiamat with the submarine, and specifically, I'm really excited about this one because if you are familiar with the creation of Tiamat, it was designed by somebody that is a friend of the channel, Dope Pope. He was actually responsible for the overall design of this creature, and that to me is insanely cool. So to not only know that he has, designed this, but to also see a figure out in the Playmates toy line is just extremely exciting to me. So again, definitely hyped for the arrival of this one. I did just find this at my local Walmart, so that's also really exciting because this one so far has been a little tricky to find, and definitely hasn't been very common as it's only beginning to hit stores, here in the United States. But you can see that it looks really fun, and the packaging also looks pretty cool. Definitely pretty much the same as far as what we usually get with these figures. And then if you turn it around, you can see what else is currently out when it comes to this line. You can also see again a massive shot of the Tiamat figure right there. But you can see again down here we have all of the figures that we've already taken a look at in the past, as well as a Godzilla energized figure that is now out as well, which is also a new figure. I don't think any of these other ones are new. They all look to me to be the same ones that we've had so far, if I'm not mistaken. But that one's definitely new, and I do also have that one here to take a look at with you guys. But again, it looks really fun, so let's pop it out of the box and check it out. So there we go. We have Tiamat now out of the packaging, and honestly, this figure is really cool. I can say straight out of the gate, this has got to be my favorite of the Playmates line as a whole so far. The figure is really articulated. Like, it definitely sports a lot of, articulated joints. It also has a lot of color, more than most of the figures have had. And I would say probably better detail throughout, as most of the Playmates figures seem to have muted detail. Not all the time, but a large portion of them have muted detail, whereas the detail of this just seems a lot more vibrant than most others. So really excited about this one, even more now that I have it out of the packaging, so let's jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of Tiamat, this is one of the only areas I would say that does have a bit more of a muted look than I would like, but you can see the detail of the face is a little bit muted, but at the same time it looks alright for what it is. You can see there is a decent amount of paint again, as we have like this light sort of like yellowish tone here for the lower jaw. You can also see a bluish tone for the head, and you can also see that that bluish tone has a little bit of a satin shine. We have a yellow for the eye, a black pupil, which looks pretty cool, and you do have an articulated jaw, which is really neat. On the inside of the mouth, you can see the teeth sculpted out. You can also see the tongue, and there is a purplish tone in there. And the detail, again, looks pretty impressive in there. You can see that, the overall sculpt was really nicely done for Tiamat here, again, in the Playmates version. But the articulated jaw is really smooth, works very nicely. As you move up, you can see the detail. Oh, wow, my camera does not like that color, apparently. But you can see the detail is a little bit muted in this area as well, but not too bad overall. I think it looks a little bit better than some, although on the back it actually looks incredibly muted. On the front, you can see the details there. It's just really fine. On the back, it looks a bit more muted than I was expecting, but the detail on the top of the head as you reach this point looks pretty decent. You can see there is an articulated spot right here, an articulated joint, which can move pretty much all over the place. You can see it can go up and down, left and right, and can swivel. So there is some really nice mobility in that spot, definitely creating a lot of posability for Tiamat in that area. As you move down, you can see again we've got a nice mixture of purples and blues as you lead down through the course of the figure. You can also see some really nice scaling moving down. Again, the detail looks really good in that area. Moving along the underside, you do have a lighter tone following down here, a very different style, almost like a large style of scaling, very sea serpent-like, I would say for sure, moving along the underside. But as you move down, you can see you do have another joint right here for articulation, which does the same that we saw up there on the top part of the neck. Can go left, right, and up, down, and swivel. And you can also see moving down into the legs. The legs are sculpted pretty nicely, and yet again, look at how vibrant the detail looks. You can really see some crisp scale detail and stuff moving down through the course of the legs. And then as you move down, you've got the toes sculpted out. You can even see like some slight webbing there between the toes. The nails, unfortunately, do not have paintwork, but you know, I don't think it really takes away from the figure too much because overall it does have a decent amount of paint. You can see the legs can move forward and back right there and out away from the body. You can basically swivel all the way around if you want. So again, really nice mobility. I think the only thing missing would be maybe like a joint in the elbow, and that's probably about it. One thing that is a little bit tricky about this one is actually keeping the pieces in the right spot because it's so articulated. It moves so easily. The pieces tend to like spin pretty easily. But as you move back, you can continue to see the detail. Looks pretty good. Again, we've got that very cool sea serpent look to our Tiamat, and you can see the beautiful blues and purples and stuff that we have going on here. But again, as we move back, you've got another spot of articulation right here, exactly the same as the others, where we go left, right, up, down, spin. You've got all sorts of mobility. You can see that the light tone of the underside, though, does taper off as we move back, and then you don't have any coloration like as far as that lighter tone moving throughout, but you do have some slight hints of like the purplish tones. When they were painting these, they kind of got like some of the purples moving along the underside, it looks like. So you do still have a little bit of color down there, but as you continue to move through, again, look at how nice the scales and stuff look, and even the detailing here within these like fin-like areas, it looks really quite nice, especially considering how lackluster a lot of the Playmates detail has been. It is nice to see the detailing look a lot nicer on the Tiamat as we move back. Again, another spot of articulation. Don't really need to continue to go over each of them because they're exactly the same, where you can go up, down, left, right, and swivel. As you move back here, you can see the rear legs look honestly just as nice as the front legs did. You again have really impressive skin texture, really impressive scale detail. The toes sculpted out, again the nails unpainted, but they look really quite nice. And again, the same articulation for the rear legs, where we can go forward and back and out away from the body, completely swivel around. So one thing to actually be careful with is, I just noticed it there when I was articulating the legs, the leg actually started to pop off. So the joint that, has to go through that little ball joint area right there is kind of loose, and because these are kind of like a little bit of a more flexible material, these will pop off, it seems. But that's just something to keep attention to. I don't think it'd be an issue if it does come off all the way. I feel like it'd be pretty easy to pop it back on. But as you move out, you then lead into the tail. Again, you've got some more of those, bluish and purplish tones moving out. You again have another spot of articulation in the tail. It's just like the articulation has been in the body the entire way through. Again, the detail continues to look really quite nice. And then as you lead out, you have that last little bit of purple out there on the tip of the tail. Again, just showing you that the coloration of this one looks great the entire way through. And then you're going to see pretty much the same thing for the opposing side of our Tiamat. Again, the same articulation, of course, same articulation with the legs, same visual overall from one side to the other, same type of paintwork. Nothing really too different on this side compared to the other side, especially considering the figure is pretty much fully posable. It seems you're not really going to find much difference on one side compared to the other. And then we do have the submarine, and you can see the submarine doesn't really have any coloration to it, nor would I really expect that. It's basically just a black coloration, but it is nicely detailed overall. Does have a pretty cool appearance to it, and is definitely a very cool, companion piece to our Tiamat. Another really neat addition to the Playmates line, which honestly, if the quality of this figure is any indication of what we might be getting in the future, and I do hope that they continue to make more waves of these figures, they could produce some pretty awesome stuff as far as other kaijus and stuff we haven't seen in figure form yet. As far as a size, I've tried to stretch Tiamat out as much as I can. There's still like this kind of arc in the body that there's really nothing you can do about. It doesn't stretch out enough to straighten that out because this part is curved in general. But for a length in the position that it's currently in, you are looking at about 11¼ inches, or around the 28.5 centimeter mark. And right now the highest point would be right around 4¼ inches, or 11 centimeters roughly. For a size comparison, There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our Tiamat from Playmates, and you can see it does have a pretty good size to it. You know, it's not gigantic by any means, but it's also not really a small figure, I would say. Like a medium-sized figure would be a good way to describe it. But for another comparison, I don't have very many sea serpent models, but one I do have here would be, or at least as far as like a similar style figure, we have the Papo Basilisk, which you can see is very close in length to the Tiamat from Playmates. Then for a comparison with a Playmates Godzilla next to our Playmates Tiamat, you can see again that the Tiamat is kind of similar in size, just very different as far as the shape goes. Then if we use a NECA King of the Monsters Godzilla, you can see again that the Tiamat is actually very similarly sized as we had seen there with the other Playmates Godzilla. And one final comparison, we have a Hiya Toys Godzilla next to Tiamat. Again, just to give you one final comparison, one final idea of the size of this brand new Playmates Tiamat. So honestly, Playmates has impressed me this time around. A lot of the figures, I think, in the Playmates line so far have been a little bit of a letdown. You know, the quality has definitely been lesser than I was expecting, so I've been a little bummed by quite a few of the figures. Some of the stuff has been pretty cool, like the Shimos and stuff have been pretty decent, but some of the Godzillas and everything have been pretty low quality, just very substandard, I would say. But when it comes to this Tiamat, I would say this is definitely a massive improvement overall when it comes to the quality and what I was expecting. This figure is far better than what I thought it would be. The sculpt is really quite nicely done, definitely highly detailed and pretty vibrant as a whole. The only area I would say that has muted detail would be there in the face and stuff. That detail's not that great there, but inside the mouth looks pretty nice. But through the rest of the figure, you know, the scale detail really quite nicely pops. The coloration is also really impressive on this figure. It has more color than most Playmates figures you usually see when it comes to the Godzilla X Kong figures. Missing nail paint, but that honestly would be about it. I think the coloration on the underside could have looked nice running the entire way through as well, but it still does look really cool with the colors that have been applied, and the tones of colors also look really quite nice and really quite vibrant. The articulation is probably the most striking part of the figure for me, definitely the most surprising part. I stayed away from pretty much anything and everything review-wise or image-wise or everything. Like, I had seen an image of the figure, you know, like on eBay a few times, and I had seen other people posting the in-package images of it, but I haven't seen the figure out of the packaging until now, and I'm really happy I did it that way because it was so surprising to see the figure in person, you know, articulated as nicely as it is, and it's far and away the best articulated figure in the Playmates Godzilla line so far, if you ask me. So honestly, as a whole, this is a really cool figure, and I'm glad that of all the creatures, of all the kaiju, to get the best, in my opinion anyway, figure in the Playmates line so far, or I should say maybe my favorite figure in the Playmates line so far, it would be the Tiamat figure again, which was designed by Dope Pope, so it obviously has a special place in my heart straight away because I'm so fond of Dope Pope to now have his version of a kaiju released by Playmates and looking so nice. And it's also got a pretty fun submarine on top of everything. So if you are interested in grabbing one of these, head to your local Walmart. If it's not there now, it should be soon. And of course, scoop it up when you can find it, and like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.